You're listening to continuing coverage in the Las Vegas reporter murder trial of Robert Tellez from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today. Now, back to the courtroom.
And Compass Realty as a business as a whole is part of this as well, to kill Mr. Gehrman, correct?
Again, if you recall that the best way to take me down would be to frame me for Mr. Gehrman's murder. And so, yes, I do believe that.
And I want to write that down. You said the best way to take me out is to frame you for killing Gehrman, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that's it.
Absolutely.
Okay. You would agree, and I think you told this jury extensively on direct examination, what a thorn you were in the side of Compass Realty, correct?
I was, yes.
You fought them at every turn, correct?
Absolutely.
You thought what they were doing was improper, correct?
I think I proved that.
Okay, you thought that so much of their wrongdoing that you actually went to the police about it, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were, till the moment that you were stopped working in that office, you fought against Compass Realty, correct?
I believe when that order was entered on August 30th, that shows that. Absolutely.
And the issue for Compass Realty is because you were the public administrator, correct?
Right.
You stood in their way from doing the things that they wanted to do in terms of independent administrators. Is that right?
Yes, sir. And in fact, again, that order was going to allow me to dig into them and actually prove, without a doubt, that Detective Jaffe was just ignoring criminal conduct, sir. Yes.
So here's the thing, though. You said that they did something else. They also donated to somebody. Who did they donate to?
That's Reed.
How much money did they donate?
$10,000.
So they thought, and let me get this straight. This is, in your opinion, the things that they were doing cost in the millions. Is that right?
Absolutely.
This is $1 million scheme that they're running, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And all they could muster to fund an opponent was 10 grand?
No, campaign laws prohibit anything over $10,000.
So did any other independent employees of Compass Realty shell out money for Rita?
So there's, again, Adam Fenn and also Compass
much?
Realty.
How much?
$5,000 each. And so, that's all that they needed in order to...
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you have described yourself as the sole impediment for their multi-million-dollar scheme, and the only thing that they could come up with financially to stop you is just $10,000?
No, sir.
Okay. That's your C&Es that you submitted, that's all we have, right? It's like 10 grand.
That's 10 grand on our campaign contribution report.
Right,
that is not all the money that they've given to anybody to, again, to engage in this activity.
Are you speculating at this point?
Be allowed to answer the
Okay,
question.
please finish the question.
Again, without being able to firsthand investigate, because Mr. Gehrman was murdered and I had been arrested and been sitting in jail for 2 years, perhaps I'm speculating, but if I'd had that authority like I had intended, I would have uncovered the various different ways that they actually tried to, thwart me. All the attorney's fees that they paid in order to pay these attorneys who would, again, this was an escalating situation that started basically, go on.
I think we're a little far afield of my question at this point.
Okay.
I don't know that was as responsive to my question. So let me direct you back to it. You would agree like $10,000 is really not that much money. In the world of countywide races, 10 grand, not that much, correct?
In the world of county races, it's the maximum contributions for these two guys, or these two entities.
For those two guys, but listen, if we're talking about, like, you know how politics works. If there are businesses or special interests, they pool their money together behind a candidate, right? You don't know that, but you were.
It depends on the situation. It depends on the situation.
Sir, are you going to sit here and tell this jury you've run for political office twice and you don't know that businesses or special interests pool their money together to back a candidate they really want? Are you really telling them that?
And again, I don't have firsthand knowledge of that because I've never had that happen for me.
Right.
Now, if you're talking about political action committees, I don't know, what do you, PACs?
Look, the bottom line is, all they donated was 10 grand, correct?
I think that's a mischaracterization of everything they've done.
Let's move on. And then here's the crazy part. They won, right?
And I still kept fighting them, yes.
No, sir. You were a lame duck as of September 2nd, 2022. Isn't that right?
But I still continue to fight Compass Realty.
That's not my question. You're out of a job in that you're not an impediment as of January 1st. Isn't that right?
As of January 1st, but I was right then.
So you're trying to tell us that Compass Realty was so upset with you that they backed a candidate who wins, but then they just can't wait any longer, so they murder a reporter? They can't wait but 3 months?
I would recommend that the jury watch the video and again see the time at which the order was filed, and I think you might agree that yes, that is absolutely the case, sir.
So the answer to my question is yes.
That
Compass Realty, even though they successfully backed a candidate that defeated you in a primary, they couldn't wait another 3 months for you to leave office, correct?
because I've got the authority to really crack things open right then.
So again, he's answering the question. These are fairly complex questions. They require complex answers.
I'm sure that each of you lets the other.
Sir, are you finished?
answer.
I am now, sir.
Okay, so then my next question is this. If they hated you so much,
I don't think they knew me to hate me, but sure.
well, I mean, they're willing to kill people over you, right?
I guess they would have hated me, yeah.
Right. And if they hated you so much, why didn't they just kill you?
That's a really good question, and I would like to answer it. My belief as to why they did.
Please tell me why they didn't
So-
just bother killing you.
Because if they'd killed me, would that have stopped the Nevada State Division from investigating them? No. If they killed me, would anybody have felt the duty to continue my work because I was actually doing this? I think so. So murdering me would have not discredited me. It would not have put me in a position where all the work that I was doing just got left by the wayside. It would make no sense to kill me.
So your theory is that Jeff Gehrman is collateral damage?
When you've taken into account the fact that months earlier we had this public feud, it's a pretty convenient way to do this.
So the guy who writes the articles that ends your career, they reward him by killing him?
Well, again, like I said, it was a pretty good way to do this.
And let's not get it twisted. Rita and Alicia are part of the conspiracy that loop in Jeff Gehrman, and they're in cahoots with Compass. So they're like, you know what? Thanks, Jeff, but you got to go? That's what you're suggesting?
And like I said, I don't know that they knew about that particular aspect of the conspiracy, sir.
Okay.
I mean, I would certainly think that they wouldn't, because you're right. I can't imagine that they would know and be okay with that, sir.
Isn't it also true that Roberta testified that once you lost, Rita Reed was actually reversing the things that you did in the office, right?
That would be her prerogative at that point.
Okay. So changes were even afoot before you had even left office, correct?
Sure.
And you even told us that once Rita took over, nothing came of the things that you wanted to, like none of the things that you wanted investigated were ever done, right?
I was talking about the fact that I had this investigative authority against Compass Realty that I had just gotten just a few days before Mr. Gehrman was murdered, and she never picked up that torch and ran with it. And it's clear why she didn't, because Compass Realty gave her that money, despite the fact that, as you saw, sir, she, and these homes, millions of dollars in theft,
So
sir.
the answer to my question is yes. Rita Reed never followed through with the things that the authority that you had, correct?
Regarding Compass Realty, yes, sir.
Thank you. And just to be clear, she was going to have full authority as of January, right?
Yes, sir.
And the authority could have gotten Compass in trouble, but that risk was eliminated once they put Rita in, according to your theory, right?
Once she actually became the public administrator, that would be the case. But while I was still, as you call it, a lame duck, I was still coming after them, sir.
Okay, so your suggestion is, your thought is murder was the only way.
There might have been other ways, but it was again, if they didn't do it, they sure had a windfall for it that they didn't expect.
So how did Compass break into your home to plant
Again,
this evidence?
Like I said before, I don't know how it got in there, but I did not put
How
it there,
did they
sir.
plant the hat?
Again, I don't know how it got there, but I didn't put it there.
How did they plant the shoes?
I don't know how it got under the couch, but I did not put it there.
How did they get your DNA in there?
Again, I don't know when and where that DNA was allegedly obtained, so I couldn't say, sir.
How did they put the images in your phone?
Again, I don't know if that was in my phone or on a corrupt image or what have you. Again, you cannot say when or where any of this occurred, really.
And again, when they executed this warrant, the police, they did that also in the presence of your wife, correct?
Not exactly, sir, if I may. So
The answer to my question is no?
not all of them did.
Okay.
And so,
No question pending. I appreciate it. You'll have a chance on redirect.
okay.
So let's start focusing on May of 2012, or May of 2022. Sorry about that. Fair to say that the dynamics in the office aren't great at that point.
That's correct, sir.
Rita and the old guard are unhappy with you and the new guard. Would that be correct?
Yeah, sure.
And the members of the new guard included you, Roberta, and Nicole. Would that be accurate?
That was just some of us.
Okay. There were a couple others?
I believe there were actually 10 folks, and after Janie retired, it was just 4 old guards, as has been stated. So 6 of us who are, and that didn't include me either. So I guess it'd be 7 of us versus the 4 people who had gotten there before I did.
Okay. So you agreed to do a sit-down interview on May 11th of 2022 with Jeff Gehrman, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why did you agree to do this interview?
Because I wanted to dispel the notion that there was any concern.
You were being accused of a series of things, including creating emotional stress on your employees, correct?
Right.
Bullying?
Right.
And engaging in an inappropriate relationship, correct?
Right.
Okay. When you sat down to do this interview, did you want to get the truth out?
To a certain extent, yes, but when it came to the office issues, yes, sir.
Okay. When you sat down, when you spoke with him, were you truthful in your interview?
Not entirely, no.
Okay. What were you untruthful about?
About the extent of the relationship with me and Roberta Lee Kennett.
Okay. What was different? What did you say versus the truth?
I said that, she and I had no affair, but, regrettably, we did have, and when I say regrettably, I think we both regret the mistake, but we had a romantic affair with each other.
Okay, so you did lie to him, correct, on that topic?
I didn't think that was for the public's business.
That's not my question. My question is...
I did lie regarding that particular issue, yes.
Okay. Now, you would agree with me, at the moment you sat down for that interview, you were in the throngs of a re-election campaign, correct?
Yes, sir.
You would agree with me that the public administration job was something very important to you.
I mean, sure. Yes. Obviously, again, it was important at the time. Yes.
I mean, well, listen, you told us a little bit about your story. I mean, right? I mean, you put yourself through law school. You opened up a law firm. You were elected to this job. You were proud of the work you were doing at the PA's office, correct?
It absolutely was.
Okay, and you wanted to remain in that job, correct?
I certainly did.
Okay. And you would agree with me that if you had been entirely truthful, that may not have helped your election prospects. Would that be correct?
That was certainly not the sole motivation for lying.
And I understand that, but that is a factor, correct?
I don't know. Again, I don't know that I necessarily consider that to be the primary factor, or honestly consider it to be a factor at all. My main concern was having any embarrassment or any, for both of our families, that kind of thing.
And listen, that's totally fair, right? You're concerned about your family, maybe you're concerned about Roberta's family. Understood. And that for you is the main reason why you're not being truthful about that.
Right.
Okay. So, you sit down. Did you feel after speaking with him that you thought Gehrman would give you a fair shake?
I did. I thought we had a pretty good conversation. I walked outside with him. I told him more about a lot of the issues that had occurred at the office before I got there, and about the way that, the strange things that had happened. I won't get into it, but yes, I thought by the time we were done that, that he understood what was really going on at the office.
Okay. And when he, sorry, excuse me 1 second. when that was published, you were very upset, correct?
Yeah, I was shocked at, what ended up coming out versus what we had discussed. Yes, sir.
Were you devastated?
I don't know if I'm not sure, that I've ever, considered myself devastated on anything. I was certainly upset. I was, hurt for, that this came out, but that was that day.
Sure. And on that day, and let's just be clear, because not only does it potentially jeopardize your work, but it jeopardizes potentially the family stability. Fair?
In a sense, yes. My wife did forgive me, but it certainly it wasn't good optically for obviously my children and have them teased by other kids or what have you. So from that respect, it was a little hard on them. And here's the thing, he didn't have to write it the way he did, but he chose to do so, correct? Certainly, yes. And you talked to him about how upset you were when you saw, I'm assuming, an advanced copy of it, or at least before. I believe it was actually after it was released. I think people have been misstating the date of the article because I think my text was after. I don't know if it got republished and the date changed or what have you. Yeah, so, and like if we publish 353A, we can see here, the date on this is May 16th, correct? Okay. But you agree sometimes what happens is like the RJ will throw up an article online at night, and so maybe it's the night before, and then maybe in a publication it's for the next day, something along those lines. Okay, so because your text messages with Mr. Gehrman reacting to this actually happened on the 15th, isn't that right? Right, sir. Okay. Right. So I want to talk about that if we could. If we could cue over. Now on direct, you said it was a bummer, right? Or was that the election loss? I can't remember. I don't. Which was the bummer? I think and maybe I can't remember what was a bummer per se. The articles certainly were not. I wasn't happy about them. Yeah. Well, let's turn to this message. It's on page 4, and you state, "I don't know what to say. I told you about how much this has all impacted me. You heard from employees who are being harassed by these people. Provided you proof." I'm assuming that's proof, correct? It says prove. It's a typo. It might have auto-corrected and. Yeah, understood. But, yeah. Provided you proof that I was doing my best to actually smooth things over after I had to make hard decisions, still you wrote an article that makes me sound like I'm the guilty one. That was not fair or balanced, correct? Yes, sir, I wrote that. You were very, very upset when you wrote that. Yeah, and I guess it says I'm very distraught right now. Clearly there are typos in my message. And you held him responsible because he was the one who chose to write the words, correct? Again, at the time, I was upset. So the answer to my question is yes. You held Mr. Gehrman responsible because he chose to write this article in this particular way. If I had to hold anyone responsible in any sense, I guess the context that you're saying, I mean, certainly not enough to murder him. That wasn't my question. Okay, I guess I'm trying to get a sense of what the wordplay is here. Well, it's not wordplay. You held him responsible. He chose to write it that particular way, right? On that day, I felt that, again, he would totally misconstrue things, so I was upset with him, and I told him I was upset with him. Okay, so that's how you were feeling on May 15th, correct? Mm-hmm. And you even say, I've done so much for that office. I told you I've been followed and that I caught Rita following me. You decided to take it on her word that she wasn't, however clearly she was. It seems to me you valued sensationalism or the value of a potential takedown than actually telling the truth. Thank you for helping him drop more pressure on my life. Yeah, and I think that was a typo with the him. It was probably a them instead. Understood. Yeah. So, I mean, you described this probably as a hit piece. Would that be correct? Honestly, yes. A character assassination, correct? Yes. And he's the one who chose it to write it that way, correct? Correct.
And then what happens is about 9 days go by, and he reaches out to you again, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, the primary election was held on June 14th, correct?
I don't recall, but you're probably right.
Okay. So we have one article that gets into not just the inner workings of the office, but is hitting you on personal stuff. And now he's reaching out to try to do another article, right?
Right, sir.
Fair to say, you've got to be upset.
I don't know if at this point I was still upset. I couldn't remember. I know that I had to, at a certain point, start to try to, basically combat this with my own narrative to try to, again, win the race.
Right. You're so concerned about Jeff Garman's articles that you start literally creating websites to try to fight against it, correct?
I wanted the truth to come out, yeah.
Right. That's how significant the article was to you.
In the sense that I wanted to win the race and I needed to dispel what was in the articles, yes, sir.
You must have felt that this guy is just personally out to get you at this point.
Not personally out to get me. I thought he was a friend of John Cahill's.
Okay.
Later I found out that Alicia Goodwin's father was a friend of his.
That must have been infuriating.
I mean, it is what it is. You know, like I said, by the time, about a month later, I think you see my tweets. I'm more just trying to...
We'll talk about different things over time that we see from you. But moving on, you end up providing a written statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
I would imagine you're hopeful that you're going to get more of a balanced article from him, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, you're just hoping he'll just publish something, correct?
I'm just hoping that it won't be too bad because I'd already figured by this point it's like, well, you know what, he's going to do what he's going to do.
But it was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Again, that's...
It's the same stuff, right? He's trashing you, correct?
But there's a certain point which you kind of get desensitized to things.
Sure.
Right? So by the time the fourth article came out, I was like, oh, whatever. Right? I will say that when it comes...
My objection, he's answering the question.
Both of you got right.
I know, but sir, the witness is non-responsive to the question.
He's answering the question that's posed, and it's a complex
I'm
question.
asking him to ask the question again.
You're upset because he's trashing you, correct?
Again, I couldn't say at that time that I was still upset or just trying to fight to win the race.
Okay. This was not helping your election, was it?
No, that it certainly wasn't.
So then we have, let's do this, let me back out.
And
Hold on a second. I'd like to now turn to some items that pop up in your phone kind of around this time. So there is this image from May 20th. I'm going to publish that. This was found in your phone, correct?
yes, it was, sir.
You're not denying that this was something actually in your phone.
No, and I can tell you why I did.
I'm not asking that question, but the title of this is How to Push Down Negative Search Results. Correct? Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have these kind of inflammatory tweets that you're tracking where they're talking about you, correct?
I was not tracking these. These were given to me by Roberta Lee Kennett.
Okay, so people are sending them to you, right?
Yes.
And then you have this message here to Mr. Kinsley. And just to be clear, that is a message that is being kind of issued out on the 15th, which would have been like that day that article came out, right? Is that correct? Because you had said,
sure.
because the article was dated, the original one's dated 5/16, and we had that conversation about it released earlier, right?
Right.
Okay. So let's look and see what you say here. Isn't it true you tell Mr. Kingsley, I'm working to bring the full truth to light? I guess I want to focus on, you're kind of maintaining the same posture that you had with Gehrman, right? About these things, some things are true. None of this stuff is true, correct?
Well, and again, like I said, I'll point out that I did lie in this message because I did not want to publicly embarrass my family further.
Right.
Right.
And to be fair, it's understandable, but so this is something that the potential impact on your family is so significant, you're even telling people in this context like it's not true because that's an important thing to protect. Fair?
I don't think that they would have, my wife would have left me, but certainly I didn't want them to have to go through any embarrassment or any pain.
Sure. And I want to focus down here at the very bottom because I know you said, oh, I was kind of over it and things like that. Isn't it true you state here you have no idea how hard it's been? You say that, correct?
That was that same day, and that was referring to the troubles that I had with the ladies in the office, that no matter what I was doing to try to actually make peace with them, giving them raises, whatever things, that still, again, I had to be a cheerleader for the other employees while trying to minimize the damage they were doing.
Okay. You say I'm truly devastated, correct?
And that was, again, on the same day that I texted Mr. Gurman.
So the answer is yes?
Yes. Yep. And
isn't it true you also try to reach out to county officials to see if there's anything that they can do to help rein in Rita Reed's behavior?
that I don't recall. I mean, if you got something to show that, as long as,
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. So,
I did talk to HR about how to best handle disciplinary issues, and got their advice and did things appropriately,
okay.
if that's what you're referring to.
I'm just asking. And so now that brings us to the primary, which is June 14th of 2022. You would agree with me, when that day began, you were hopeful that you were going to win, correct?
You're always hopeful when you're running for an election.
You had gone out, you had canvassed neighborhoods, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were expressing to your friends and family that, yeah, I think we're going to pull this out, correct?
Obviously, you always want to have an optimistic face, no matter what, but I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to win or not.
Okay. But ultimately, you lose. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you don't place second. You end up placing third. Is that right?
Right. All three of us were pretty tight, though, but yes.
Right. And I'm going to approach with what's been marked as State's Proposed 377. Does that appear to be kind of the accurate outcome of the election?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's a fair and accurate depiction of those results?
I think so. Like I said, it was pretty close.
At this time, we're asking the State Commission to admit State's 377. Sure. Sorry about that.
There's no objection.
Publishing 377, if we could cue over. So when we look at this, you don't lose by much, do you?
No.
I mean, what, a little more than 2,000 votes, correct?
Right.
Jeff Garriman didn't write any articles about Carolyn Escobar in a negative fashion, did he?
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, leading up to this election, he didn't do that, correct?
Correct?
He didn't do that about Rita.
No.
Fair to say, in your opinion, if Jeff Garriman hadn't written these articles, you probably end up winning that primary?
Probably yes.
It had to be crushing, correct?
No, it was disappointing, but again, I knew that my chances were 50-50, so I was prepared for a loss. And I think my conciliation post on Facebook was pretty clear that, hey, you know what? We tried really hard. We gave it our go. But, I'm going to go serve families as a probate attorney again. I'm ready to go back to work. And, and I got a lot of support when I made that post.
Okay. But everything that you work for is gone because of a couple of articles that say things that you don't think are really true, correct? Especially about the work stuff, right?
It wasn't the articles per se. It was obviously Rita and Alicia,
who got Jeff Garriman into the fold to publicly tear you down.
They did, yes.
And he agreed to do it.
Yeah.
So now I want to focus on just 2 days later. 2 days later, oh, can we cue over? Sorry. 2 days later, Jeff Gehrman writes to you, correct? Mm-hmm. At this point, you are kind of right on teetering on the verge of like conceding, correct?
I think it took a long time for the count to occur. It was like almost a week. So we were, again, this was a while back. So if I remember correctly, we were still waiting for the final outcome. And yeah, so this was.
So you're down as of May 16th. You're losing in the race, correct?
It was kind of like similar to what you saw on that report in the sense that things kept going up and down, but it was some. I think if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere in those 1,000, 2,000 between the three of us. But Rita would go up, then Caroline would go up, and so it was more of a tug of war between them. And that was pretty much in third place at all times.
So it's very close, right?
It was really close.
You don't know how this, at this point, as of June 16th, you still don't officially know how this one's going to shake out, correct?
Based on the fact that I never came out of third place during the whole thing, I was pretty sure that it was done.
Okay. But nevertheless, Jeff Gehrman comes calling again, correct?
Mm-hmm. And it's about that truth website that I created.
Right, and you just say, it's fine at this point, they won, do what you like. Mm-hmm. Fair to say you felt resigned at this point?
Yeah, like just, what's it going to do at this point? Whatever,
Well, he wrote another one, correct?
Mm-hmm. That is, yes.
Fair to say you weren't happy with that coverage. It wasn't positive, was it?
Again, I don't remember if I cared or not. And I know I started to poke fun at him on Twitter, but, it came to a point where it was just me trying to, I think, see if I couldn't get him to put more light on my website.
Okay. And so then on June 18th, he publishes this article number 3, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Yes.
And then just 6 days later on June 22nd, he publishes a 4th article about you officially losing, but pointing out that you remain combative, correct?
Yeah, which again was inaccurate, but sure, yes.
Okay, so again, it's inaccurate reporting about you, the 4th one.
Right. Well, like I said, by this point, I was just having fun with it.
Well, let's be, Mr. Tejas, you didn't like Jeff Gehrman by this point, did you?
I mean, sure, I did not like him.
You hated him, isn't that correct?
And I don't know if hate, I mean, there might have been various points throughout that where I might have felt like that, but I don't know that he was not a central figure in my life. I'll put it that way.
He is the figure that ends up causing you to leave your job as public administrator for Clark County, correct?
Again, I don't blame him per se. I blame Rita and I blame Alicia.
Sir, you just told this jury that if those articles weren't written, hold on,
Go ahead.
I'm not finished. You just told this jury, like 5 minutes ago, that if Mr. Gehrman hadn't written these 4 articles, you believe you would have won the race.
Yeah, but again, if Rita and Alicia hadn't gone to Alicia's dad to ask for this favor, those articles wouldn't have happened.
So the answer to my question is yes.
Who I would hold most responsible is not Mr. Gehrman.
Sir, that's not my question.
Okay.
My question is, you believe if Mr. Gehrman had not written these 4 articles, you would have won the race, correct?
I do believe that, yes.
You hated him by this point in time, isn't that right?
I could not say whether I hated him by this point in time, and if how long I might have hated him, if,
Roberta said you hated him.
Roberta is entitled to her own opinion. I don't know that I ever said I hated him.
Okay. So, now we're in July. Fair to say, working in that office had to have been hard in July.
So after the election loss, I ended up, so I guess just back up a little bit. When Mike Murphy came into the office, it was not a directive from Clark County. It was a request. Jeff Wells said, hey, you've got this situation. I think, maybe if we bring in Mr. Murphy, he could help you kind of be an independent, arbiter of sorts. And he said that, you don't have to say yes. This is not, we have no right to force this on you. It's entirely up to you. And I said, you know what, sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. So brought him in, but then again, that got misconstrued, it is what it is at this point. But so once I lost the election, he and Rita had taken over the duties primarily, and I did most of my work from home, coming in a couple of days a week, just to do things here and there.
Okay, so to go back to my question, was July hard? Yes or no?
I guess my answer would be not as. I didn't have to deal with the first, the day-to-day frustrations I used to deal with when I was in the office 50 hours a week.
So you came in less, correct?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Rita assumed more of a responsibility,
Right, sir.
even though you were still the acting, duly elected public administrator.
Right. We decided, just.
Okay. I'm going to publish Exhibit 340. You can cue over to the Elmo. On June 13th, I don't know if you are aware of this back in the day, but an email is sent out. I'm sorry? July, sorry about that. July 13th of 2022, Jeff Garriman is making a public records request, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, in July, you have already lost your race, correct?
Right.
So the election isn't at stake. Is that correct?
Right. Correct.
You will be gone in a matter of 6 months, right?
Right.
And now, Jeff Garriman is asking for all emails between Public Administrator Robert Tellis and Estate Quarter Roberta Lee Kennett from January 1st to the date that this is fulfilled, correct?
Right.
He also wanted all of your communications, including messages between you and Roberta, correct?
Right.
He wanted you to wanted the county to provide all text messages between you and Roberta, correct?
Right.
From your personal cell phones, correct?
Yes, he did, but he was not allowed to have them. But yes.
Sure. Understood. But that's how far this is going. And additionally, and I didn't read that in the middle, it included a request for Microsoft Teams messages as well. Isn't that right?
Right.
Okay. Now, sir, you are familiar with the county's policy. Well, let's do it this way. You testified to this jury that, before the records requests went out for the Teams messages, you had reviewed them and you didn't have any issues with them, correct?
And I'd love to elaborate on that if I could.
I need you to focus on my question. Yes or no?
I had an opportunity to. Yes, I did have an opportunity to review them before.
Judge, it's a two-way street on this one.
Okay, if you can answer the question, yes or no.
I haven't finished the question, Judge.
Oh,
Then I can ask Mr. Hamner if he wants you to answer the question.
I need you to listen. I need to finish the question.
Oh, I thought you were done. Sorry.
Well, yes or no. You testified on direct examination that you reviewed Teams messages and you did not have an issue with them, correct?
The production that I understood was going to be sent to Mr. Gurman, yes.
Right. And just to be clear, you were familiar with the county's policy about what gets produced in a public records request, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so, isn't it true that under this county policy, personal messages would not be produced under a public records request?
That is correct.
Okay. So any personal communications between you and her wouldn't go out to Mr. Garriman, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And that is why, and so you're like, I don't have any issue with that other stuff going out, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But let's be clear about something. The election's over, right? Mm-hmm. And Jeff Garriman...
Yes, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
And Jeff Garriman seems to still be digging about you and Roberta, isn't that right?
Yes, but there's nothing to dig, provided obviously that if he was going to receive what I saw, then there was nothing for him to dig.
I mean, you would agree, I mean, reporters typically don't ask for records requests unless they're planning on doing a story, correct?
Sometimes I think they're just fishing to see if there is a story.
And according to this records request, he's fishing about one thing. It's you and Roberta, right?
Right.
Okay. Which you told us back in May when you sat down with your interview with Jeff Gehrman, the number one priority was to, protect your family and not really dig into that, correct? Or at least disclose that, correct?
I'm sorry.
You told us when you met with Gehrman on May 11th, you had said, I was truthful about some things, but I wasn't truthful about everything. The one thing I didn't want to talk about was the indiscretions. And you said that the reason for that was I was really concerned about my family, correct? Right. Okay. The election's over. You're on your way out, and now this guy is wanting to ask more questions about you and Roberta, right?
Yeah.
It's not about you and Rita, right?
There's a I know that there was a later request for those other emails that got appended to this, but I don't know if you remember that with Mike Murphy and Rita.
Just in this specific request, he's not asking for communications between you and Rita, right?
Correct.
He's not asking for communications between you and Alicia, right?
Correct.
It's just about you and Roberta.
Right.
He's not leaving it alone, is he?
I think he's still fishing.
That had to have been frustrating, Mr. Tellis.
No, it was not, because I knew he wasn't going to have anything based on what I reviewed from the production.
Okay. So it's your testimony that the possibility of a fifth article didn't concern you at all when the potential source of the request is just about your communications between you and Roberta. You're telling us that's not a concern at this point in time.
Again, I can explain to you how things...
Yes or no? Is it a concern or is it not?
Not at the time that I reviewed those documents, no.
Okay. So, now, let's now jump forward to August 8th of 2022. On that day, Dan Coolin emails you and starts to tell you about the production request, that it's going to start to happen, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's on August 8th, right?
Yes, sir.
We'll do this quickly here. August 8th. 4 days later, in your phone, the Google Maps and bronze circles start popping up, correct?
No, sir.
Read this out to me. What does that say?
That says August 12th, 2022.
Great. Publishing 364. This is the street surveillance. Please read out to me what the date is on that.
August 15th, 2022.
Okay. You would agree that August 12th is just 4 days after August 8th, correct?
I would.
You would agree with me that August 15th is just 7 days after August 8th, correct?
I would.
And if we go back to the overhead, 354. I want you to read the date on entry number 1 on that.
The modified date?
Yeah.
8/23.
Okay.
2022.
I wish I could do the math on that one. I feel like that's like about 2 weeks after August 8th, correct?
Somewhere on there.
We also heard from Nicole Lofton, correct?
Yes, sir.
Nicole Lofton was employee of the Public Administrator's Office, correct?
Yes, sir.
A member, as you describe it, of the New Guard, correct? She was on Team Telus, fair?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. You had text messages between you and Nicole Lofton through the course of your time as a public administrator, correct?
If you've got them, then sure. I don't recall.
Okay. Well, I'm going to approach for a second. So I'm going to show opposing counsel what's been marked as Exhibit 376. It's just an excerpt of some things, but take a look.
And these are just excerpts, they're not the entire.
It's not the full thing. There's a lot of messages there. I just wanted to kind of narrow down. I'm going to approach in a minute, but I need to get an understanding. By August, beginning of August 8th, by August 8th, how are you feeling about Jeff Gehrman's next upcoming article?
I don't recall.
Okay. Are you concerned at all?
I don't recall.
Okay. Well, let me show you what's been marked as Exhibit 376, proposed Exhibit 376. I want you to just take a minute and flip through those and let me know if you recognize essentially what you're looking at there.
Okay.
We're getting close to it.
Do you have that timeline exhibit that was used for Mr. Rex?
Would it be a good time for a break as well?
Yeah.
Sure, we can do that. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, at this time, we're going to take a break. During this recess, you're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication or social media, read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case, do any research, consult dictionaries, the internet, or reference materials, do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form or express any opinion regarding the case until it's finally submitted to you, and we'll be in recess for 15 minutes. Thank you.
All right, next one, Jerry.
Oh, no, they were up there. No, they were up there. Never mind. They're already gone.
All right, entering jury. Thank you, everyone, please be seated.
Does the state stipulate to the presence? And Mr. Drafter?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, you had a chance to review those text messages?
Yes, sir.
That's a fair and accurate depiction of some of the text messages you had with Nicole. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir.
At this time, we'd ask that these be admitted, states proposed 376.
No objection.
So again, just to set the stage, like how are you feeling in early August about Jeff Gehrman and his articles?
Like I said, I don't know that I thought any way about Jeff Gehrman in particular,
Okay.
right?
Okay. All right. So we're just publishing these. Just kind of zoom in. So that's just the ones in green. That's you, correct?
Yes,
That's just the first page that goes back to August 17th of 2021. Is that right?
yes.
All right. So this message is from June 15th. That's the day of the primary, or at least the day after the primary, correct?
Yes, sir.
I think you state, isn't it true you state to her, good morning, full results aren't in yet. It's about a three-way tie with me, last by around 2,000 votes. The precincts I'm counting on aren't in yet. And Nicole says, praying, right? Mm-hmm. And you say, me too.
Yes.
Turning to what's marked as page 64, just on the actual pagination. We look at this bottom email at 6:15 at 12 o'clock p.m. She writes to you, folks are prancing around like you conceded. Did you? Do you remember her writing that to you?
Not until I see it now, but it's been a while.
Okay. And then your response is, isn't it true your response was, no, I'll check the website to see if a winner was declared. And she responds, okay, correct?
Yes.
I think you indicate that if I lost, I will protect you until you can get a new position. Isn't that
Yes.
right? And she responds, I appreciate that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And isn't true then you say, I'm so sorry, Nicole, I tried so hard, I almost made a comeback, but it's done, correct?
Right.
And that's at 3:16 p.m. on the 15th, isn't that right?
Right.
And you say here, unfortunately, too many people bought the lies, isn't that right?
Right.
And when you're saying that, you're referring to the voters, correct?
Yeah.
And the lies were propagated by those articles, correct?
Yes.
That Mr. Gehrman wrote.
Right.
If we look down here at the end, she says, I'm so sorry. Will you work until the end of the year or resign? Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And she says, thank you for believing in me. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Fair to say she cared for you and how you treated her in the office, correct?
Right.
All right. And you told her, in fact, I very much believe in you. You have been my best employee. I'm so sorry that I couldn't pull it off. Isn't that correct?
Right.
And she lets you know that you fought hard. Isn't that right?
Right.
And we see here on 6:15, you even say to her, I'll stay on until the end of the year, although if they aren't messing with you, I don't know that I'll spend a ton of time in the office, correct?
Right.
Essentially ceding power to Rita Reed, correct?
Right.
And Rita Reed is friendly to Compass Realty, correct?
Right.
And so your intentions were to step away from that office or lower your profile even as early as June 15th of 2022.
Right.
So you would be less of a threat to Compass Realty even then, correct? Because you'd be stepping away and not spending a ton of time in the office.
No, sir. The evidence proves otherwise.
Okay. And then we look here at text on June 21st. Nicole says, now Alicia is in the other cubicle counting the files that were left in there. These people are so sick. They spend half the day trying to get you instead of working. The you she's referring to is yourself, correct?
I don't know if it was that or, generally saying you in that sense, because I don't have files in a cubicle.
Okay.
So it might have been, that perception that, I don't know how to explain that. I think you get it.
Contextually, she's talking about the old guard, correct?
She is talking about them, but as far as whether she's talking about herself or me, I don't know.
Understood. But she believes these people are sick, is that right?
That's her opinion, and, they did some pretty tough stuff.
Well, and it appears you share that same opinion. You say yes, like they think it all still matters, correct?
Right, like they're still trying to sabotage me, but it's pointless at this point, right?
Well, you say it's pointless, but we'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
You then also say she's probably trying to get fodder to pass to the reporter, correct?
Yes.
So the reporter is still on your mind, isn't that right?
Just from the standpoint that they're still trying to concoct things, and that's why I decided to stay away from the office so they couldn't concoct anything anymore.
Because the articles were damaging, correct?
They were damaging, yes.
Professionally and personally.
Primarily professionally, because obviously I had to figure out something else to do for work, which, again, I'm a lawyer, so I guess, rehang my shingle if I can, do whatever I can.
And that's a really interesting point. On August 8th, we've seen how that's the day you get notified that Gehrman wants stuff between you and Rita, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
I want to look at what's marked on the bottom is page 110. Mm-hmm. Isn't it true that you tell Nicole at 12:28, you're dealing with a lot, I'm sorry. For me, this may have a long-term impact. I have people that no longer talk to me. Also, I'm worried in this digital age that the articles could potentially follow me around for years to come. I'm actually worried I might not have any good employment prospects after this, correct?
Yes.
And it just so happens that you were then informed that Gehrman is snooping around looking to potentially do another article, correct?
Yeah.
And you're telling Nicole in confidence that you believe your future employment is jeopardized because of the articles, right?
Yes, but the damage was already done. So it's not, whether he wrote another article, he wrote 10 more articles, it was irrelevant at this point.
Well, apparently you don't say that, though, in your email. You don't say in that text message. You don't say, but the damage is already done, do you? You don't say that in that message, correct?
Well, it says that the articles are going to have an impact, and you would think that would refer to previously published articles. So I think that it's assumed that, it's done is done. So
Sir,
if he goes on and does 10 more articles, same net effect, really.
Right. Sir, to go back to my question, Isn't it true you never use the words, the damage is already done, correct?
Not in this particular message, no.
Right. And you state, also, I'm worried in this digital age that the articles could potentially follow me around for years to come. I'm actually worried I might not have any good employment prospects after this, correct?
I'd say they'd be better than if I had actually murdered Mr. Gehrman.
So, sir, we're going to go back to my question. Isn't that what you wrote in the text message?
Yes.
And 4 days later, Google Maps images start popping up in your phone, correct?
No.
7 days later, on the 15th, surveillance is being conducted on a street, correct?
Not by me.
And on the 23rd, multiple images of Gehrman's information about what car he drives and where he lives is literally being screenshotted of your desktop computer, correct?
Not by me.
Because if it was you, that would be a big problem, wouldn't it?
Objection for conclusion. It's argumentative.
It is argumentative. If you
We'll move
wanna
on.
Rephrase it.
No, we can move on. Publishing 342. Then you receive this email on 9/1, correct?
Yes, sir.
You receive it at 5:45 p.m.,
Yes, sir.
correct? Mm-hmm. And we heard from Roberta, who talked about this, right?
Right.
And she had indicated that the release of the information to Gehrman was just around the corner, correct?
Right.
Let me find this.
And I knew in advance that it'd be only...
Sir, there's no question pending. At 5:45 on September 1st, you get the information. You get notified that Jeff Gehrman is soon to receive personal records requests related to messaging and communications between you and Roberta, correct?
No. It was not personal.
Okay, I didn't mean that. I meant, I apologize for my misstatement. Communications between you and Roberta, correct?
Business related, yes.
Right. And then at 11:20 in the morning, just a few hours later, Gehrman's dead, right?
Yes.
More continuing coverage in the Las Vegas reporter murder trial of Robert Tellez is on the way. From the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today, press subscribe now.